Today we're going to be looking into Reddit and their subreddit called r/automate. There was a guy who posted a question asking if anybody could help him. I reached out to him and actually managed to help him, so he was thankful for that, which is good. But I thought that it would be a good use case for next week's or for this week's when you see it video on how you can automate some of your tasks using Power Automate Desktop. So this guy actually had the following process where he needed to, I don't know the details of it, but he needed to go to an Excel file and take some file names from a range of cells, and then the file names that were listed in an Excel sheet, he needed to go into another folder, find all the documents. In this instance, it's just Excel files that were in that folder corresponding to the names in the Excel file, and then if the name in the Excel file existed and the file in the folder existed, it needed to be copied over to another folder. I didn't ask him why and the underlying process or anything. I just helped him, and he actually going back and forth with him a bit. He actually managed to make it work. So that's fucking brilliant. No need for anybody to do this manually, I thought, so cool that we can help each other. But I wanted to show you how to actually do it. So if we imagine, I try to recreate kind of the process here. So if we imagine that we have a folder X, where there are some files in. Now I just give them random names, it could be anything. And let's just we can add some more just for fun. But the basic principle is that there exists some files in one folder that maybe or maybe not needs to be copied over into another folder. How do you do that using Power Automate Desktop? It's pretty simple actually. So they need to be moved from here to folder Y, which is now currently empty. And they need to be moved over there if they are listed. Let me just open this. If they are listed in this Excel file. Obviously this Excel file is rudimentary. It could be that it was differently set up, but just for ease of purposes, the intention is to showcase that you can look through or loop through Excel files or SharePoint files or lists for that matter, whatever, and then use every item that you loop through to see if there's anything that corresponds with it in another different place, and then do something with that. So you can see here visually that some of the files that we have in this folder corresponds to some of the names over here. There's also some of them that doesn't. So file example 11 isn't a file over here, doesn't exist. And file example 160 doesn't exist because the list ends at 17. So ideally we should see that some of them get folded or gets pushed over into another folder, but not all of them. So let's start building that. So if we go into Power Automate Desktop and give it a name, move folder example. First of all, we have to use the action called launch Excel, because we need to have access to the Excel file. And we don't want to use a blank document, we want to open the document that we have open currently. Overview of file names. So we open that because we need to use the content in it. Once we have it open, we have it as a variable, so we can reference it and we can do stuff with it. That also means that we can read from the Excel worksheet, which we want to do. So we reference the formula or the variable that we create up here, Excel instance. So we open that Excel file, and then we don't want to read the value of a single cell, we want to read the values from a range of cells. That could obviously also, depending on your situation, that could be a different setup. But for now, we know that the content that we need to read and run through is in column A1 to column A17. So we can add that in, A1, A17, and it'll just produce a variable called Excel data. That's fine. Then from here, we also need the other side of the equation, which is we need an overview of all the files that we have in the folder. And we do that by using files. It's called get files and folder. So we will pinpoint the folder location down here, and it was the folder X move files from here. This is the one we want because we want to read and have a more overview of all the files that are in that folder. We just get all of them, produces a variable called files, which is perfect. And then from here we start our loop, or the for each action. So now we have one side of the equation, which is an overview of all the names in the Excel files, Excel file, the overview. And then we have the other side of the equation, which is all the folders that are, all the files that are in the folder that we pointed to. And then we need to make these two match and do something with the ones that matches. So we pull in the for each loop, and what we want to do is that we want to use the Excel data to iterate through. So we run through each line in the Excel data, and then we do something about it. And then for here we actually need to create another for each loop inside of this, because we want to run through the files. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want to make it right now here you can see the variable only allows us to use the count, which doesn't work. So we run through each file also within we run through each file, and then we just create a variable called file instead of current item 2, just to give a little bit of file iteration, let's call it that, give it a little bit of sense. So we save that. So now we're running through each current item in the Excel file and each current item or each current file in the folder. And then in here we can then create the if statement. So if the file iteration, and then when we do that here now, because it's in a for loop, we get a lot of more extra variables. And actually, if we can, maybe we can run this. Maybe we can pause this and just have this run. Let's see if that works. Yes, so now you can see some of the variables over here. If we have a look at them, you can see that it's capturing for the files, it's capturing all of this. And if you then click more, some other properties pops up. And what we want to grab a hold of is the file name without extension, but we can't do that before we put it inside a for each loop, because we want to run through them. But this is what we want, because this is the exact file name that is in the overview, and it's also the exact, let me just close all of these. It's also the same name in the folder. So we don't want the full name or the name with the extension. We want to have it clean cut. So this is the thing that we need in our if statement. Oh, I just need to enable all of these again. Yes. Enable. There we go. So we drag in the if statement, and now inside of this loop we can use the file iteration name without extension, because we don't want it .xl whatever it is. So we're saying that if this equals to the current item that we're running through, then we need to do something. What we need to do in this instance is that we need to copy the files, and we need to copy the file which is just file iteration, and then we need to copy it. The destination folder where we want to copy it to is then into the other folder, folder Y, move files to here. And if the files exist, in this instance do nothing, it's fine. And then we get a variable produced, which is copied files. We don't actually need that, but so we can just disable it. And then in the end, we should just, for good measure, we should close the Excel file, because we don't want to have it open. and we don't need to save it. So we reference the Excel variable again that we created in the first action, and then we just say close it, don't save it. So what we should do if we build it correctly, what we should do now is to see that some of these files which is in this folder gets pasted or copied over into this folder which is currently empty. So if we run this now, we have the folder open, then we can see the first file gets posted over now. That's good. Then it runs through, it has to run through all of them again before it gets to the second one. So if you have a very, very long list in the Excel file or in your SharePoint list, this might be a little bit cumbersome. But for now, this works. But as you can see, we're copying over some of them. And if you remember correctly, I created a file saying something like file name example 8, and then some letters, which doesn't exist in the Excel file. So hopefully we're not gonna copy it over, but let's see. Looks like we didn't. Looks like we went on because we couldn't match the two. And now, if I'm not mistaken, in the folder X where all the files were to begin with, the next one after example 9 was example 160, which we're not gonna iterate through because the list is not that long. So now it should just run through. It can't find any matches, so it probably won't copy anything over more. And then in a second, it should close the Excel file and then say runtime over. There we go. I hope this was useful. Let me know if you have other requests like this. There's no reason for anybody to sit and do this manually. And I continue to argue that if it is structured, it can be automated. And I'm up for a challenge. So reach out if you have a situation like this, and I'll see what I can do. See you in the next one.